in terms of slowing down, like, why is it that we need to always wait for something catastrophic to happen, or to get the cancer, or to get sick, or something major to happen in the world for us to like fucking get a clue and be like, this moment right now is what matters? And
Gosh, I wish I knew that answer. I'm in the same boat.
and we
I'm
do
starting
it
to think that that's just true. It's horrible.
we do it to ourselves all the time.
Well, that's very great wisdom. I'm glad this one's recorded. I want you to watch this session. It's going to be good. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said in the beginning there, disease and death, right? The Bible says there's reincarnation. Jesus said that Elias has come back as John. Every tradition says there is. If you have a transcendental mind, like mine mostly is, you see so many things that reincarnation kind of makes sense. Or like psychic is obvious. So is there an afterlife? And then you use logic, and logic says that sages and saints are telling the truth, that they're not like dissociative people, real sages, and they all talk about the afterlife. So, okay, there's an afterlife. So what I'm saying now is that if you look forward in time, you could see that disease and death won't even shut you up. That's what reincarnation's all about.
So disease.
You want to know, you want to get the energy, you want to be in charge, and it's doomed. External solution for personal problem is a doomed proposition. It doesn't exist. Only love and internal coherence and being able to see the mystery of life like you did as a child is the only thing that lasts through time, and the only thing that can propagate into your psyche and soul. And unless you calm down and stop, you can't see any of that. So what I understand now is that I live in a world of opposites. The entire world is seeking an external, every single person in my life basically is stuck on an external solution for a personal problem, other than real sages and real teaching. Only that inner devotion can see reality at all. So I'm in a fight with the whole world, everybody, and the aspects of my psyche that do the same thing, because I must not be distracted. I don't know what you're doing. It's not my business, but I must not be distracted. And so, gosh, it agitates me, yes, and it confuses me, yes, and everything, but I'm 100% sure that I'm correct in the basic proposition. And that is that my own choice is I have got to find, healing and education and life and all that stuff. And it just doesn't exist out there like you might think. So like you were saying, you asked the question, why do we have to experience catastrophe? I guess it's because we're not aware of actions and consequences. We're not aware that there's a direct relationship. So our investment into, for example, bad thoughts or bad behaviors, we don't know that there's no returns in that. Or our investments in compulsive behavior, we're not aware that there's no returns in that investment. So because we're in a state of unawareness, we perpetuate things that just don't work. Let me lower these lights a little bit. I lowered the camera, like I said the other time. So hopefully I can try to look at you and look at the camera at the same time. A little bit more anyway. Oh, that's more light, huh? Hi, and welcome to today's program. We're going to try to create magic. Let's try another magic. Do you have any physical things that I can heal? And click the number at the bottom of the screen and send me money, please. We all know William needs money. The guy who's trying to help Anthony sent me an email. He said, Anthony said he's a great person. And who are you, may I ask? And you asked who I am. I'm a person that helps people live their ultimate lives and get rid of, it was all like positive bullshit to the degree of make you throw up. And I'm like, poor Anthony, he goes for this. The guy's an egomaniac. To become humble is to avoid catastrophe. If you can't stop, which in some sense we can't, life's going to stop us. Now, if you've got to have bad events today because you can't stop and be accepting, then that's just the way it is. But I can assure you and me both of one thing, that our strategies of playing energy chess with people in life are doomed to failure. So if we could just have clarity between actions and consequences, then we could settle down a little bit and realize it's not the skincare business. It's not more money. It's not resolving the issues at the business. It's not those things that you are completely consumed with. It's not having a male attention. It's not the children paying attention and honoring you more. There's a friend I have yesterday, and he's 49 in a few months, and basically never had a girlfriend. And he says, I'm his only friend. You know, I'm sure he has other acquaintances, but we're good friends. And he wants a girlfriend, you know, so bad. And he's asking me about this girl, and he's younger than her, and what should he do, and can he ask her for, and we're going back and forth, back and forth. And the girl said no, and there's mitigating circumstances to why she said no. But anyway, it reminded me of all this self-criticism that we have about ourselves in a way that's not constructive, and in a way that we think we're going to get something. I mean, if you think you're going to get something necessarily, get married, see how that works. What I mean is that you're really going to have to step up to the plate then. So it's always a proposition of your self-coherence and your ability to put out energy and good vibe and all that kind of thing. But it's never a proposition of, I'm going to do this to get something, or I'm going to do this or accomplish this business or girlfriend or something, and that's going to make me better. No, you get better, and then you can be better. You're a human being, not a human doing. The whole brain is trained neurologically like wires. Wires are, you know, material things in a way for an external solution to a personal problem. And that wiring has got to be changed today, right now, because I'm not waiting for you or anybody else. So you have to make sure that you take whatever you get from me and begin to build your University of Enlightenment. Begin to build the curriculum with the professors and the homeworks, and give yourself to that, because by the end of this call, you're going to remember yourself. And when you remember yourself, you're going to be like, all the obsessions, all the things about him and her and this and that, it was all like a fantasy world. I tried to tell my friend, you know, the person that, the guy that walks into the room and doesn't care whether the girls like him or not, all the girls are like, who is he? And his response was, well, you know, I've been doing that for 40 years, hasn't worked or whatever. So in other words, no matter what, our human brains do not do authority, mentorship, teaching, following. We only do dialogue. We only do, I'm the one that knows stuff. It's such a fantasy world. And I am removing myself progressively more and more and more from all of this that I do and that you do and that everybody does, because it's just headed for trouble. I had enough trouble in my life. When you realize you've had enough trouble in your life, you've had enough sickness, you've had enough sorrow. When you realize that enough is enough and too much is too much. So now you can have happiness right now, independent of circumstance. And that's what makes a master and a super genius. Happiness without a gaining idea. Happiness independent of circumstance.
That sounds wonderful.
Seems like there's no possibility for that, right? Because of addiction. Just look at any addict, and that's you. I'm so glad for my experiences with addiction, which were extreme years and years ago, because it shows me I'm the same thing now. And not only that, I've made a little progress. The average human being is even worse. Everybody looks like how I behaved. When I look at people's behavior, quite often I'm like, what? It's total compulsion and total addiction. Now I know that I'm guilty of the same stuff, so we'll get on the same page here in a second. But the idea, like with my friend, no matter what's said, there's always an opposition to it. There's no such thing as like learning or mentorship. And the more a person penetrates your existence, the more that you have a compulsion to pity party me, I need to change this. The more the energy you get, the more it's going to make you active. If you want to know if you're becoming enlightened or not, or healed, if you get money or sex or energy or whatever, and it makes you frenetically excited, then you're not going to be healed. If you get money or something wonderful, something good, a wonderful moment, and it makes you calm down because your gratefulness and you bask in it, then you're being healed. If you're so starving that every little bit of accomplishment or hope, like maybe we'll get the bike shop going or, whatever, every little thing, which can be great. I'm all for it. Big opposites, bike shop, chopping meat, big yin and yang, you guys and gals. So that's good. It's big powers, but they need to be synthesized. If the idea of hope, if the idea of resolution for your issues, forget about whether you need to do this or do that out there with other people. That's way, way after the fact. 99% understanding and collating information and being meditative, 1% precise action. It's not 99% action, 1% collating information. That's the way your brain is wired. And it's not going to work. Rewire your brain, because mommy, daddy, sister, brother are not going to do it. So you may as well do it. And then maybe you can help a little human suffering for somebody else. So, yeah, that's the idea. Can you put it all more into your own coherence?
When somebody says, like my dad says that when he works in his bike shop, he is totally in his zone.
Cool. Okay.
Like he's completely present and in an enjoyable whatever. Like he's just in a peaceful place. And when I do my facial work, it calms me down. It completely calms me down. It grounds me. And I feel like that's all I want now. Like
that's fine. But the thing is that they're cycling opposites, just like I said in the beginning.
Yeah.
What I mean is that once your dad is in the bike shop for a little after a while, and there's no conflict of chopping meat in half and the fight of having to go get a gig and stuff like that, and the fight of having created all this problem with this stuff in the place by not being transparent, not being present, from what I understand anyway, my opinion, not you, then it's going to cycle back around to I need excitement because calm is too boring. So where does both of them take place? How can you do both of them? All right, well, let me explain how you could do both of them. If you go into the bike shop and you go into the skincare business and you're a little sharky, meaning I want to open not just my own successful business, I want to open another one in New York. I don't care if it takes 300 years. So don't worry about timelines of things. That's not my concern. My concern is drive, not motivation, inspiration, purpose. What are you driven to do? So if you have drive because you say, okay, I'm going to establish my own, then I need a little conflict. I need a little friction. I need a little action. So I want to train a young gal to go to people's homes herself. And I get 30% of the money or something. Now you're going to have conflict and surrender, acceptance and non-acceptance. So you've been conflict oriented your whole life, and so has your dad. That's your nature of your personality, which is common for everybody, but especially East Coast Italian type people. That's how you get energy, is through drama and repeating blaming him and blaming her and getting the anger going and getting the crying going. That's how you survive. Well, there's a little bit better methods. you can still get energy by being more receptive and have equanimity and not becoming milquetoast or anemic. Spirituality and energy stuff and all that's very real and very not milquetoast. It's the ultimate power in the world. Love is the ultimate power in the world. And love in action is terribly conflicted, because now you have to battle hate. You have who wins, hate or love? Who wins, in the world of entrainment? So I just wanted to mention that for your dad and for yourself to engage the aspect of hitting it, to not be so done with conflict that now you're going to become a Fruit Loop, is important. That's why I've got 7 steps in there.
So you're saying like, trying to think of it, like keep it exciting, like keep
a fight present in your life.
Yeah.
Don't be without a fight entirely. Otherwise, you're just not realistic. You're not facing anything.
Right.
So you're so fed up with the fight that you just want to be crushed or get a disease or go into the thing, or just cave in on yourself. Yeah. And luckily I'm here to say, look, all these comments you have about diseases all the time, what the hell do you think is going to happen? Now, what did you do to get the operation? Tell me the context around that. You said it's a wonderful way to what?
Wait, what do you mean?
When you got the operation down there,
yeah,
you got that operation, it had to do with work. There was something to do with work. You said it's a great way to what?
Well, it was like a forced rested time that I had. Is that what
Do you remember the comment you said that everybody you told, it'll echo in their brains forever? Andrea, Danielle, whoever else. You said it's a wonderful way, a wonderful excuse to get a rest, something like that.
Oh yeah. And
we're all like, what did you just say?
Yeah.
Talk about mental illness.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the reasonable, but in the first part of our session, my job is to knock us down and to get us to the place of realizing personal issues, because that's the place of where we can start to honor each other, love each other, care about each other, and find the win-win. And we're going to fail all the time, but any relationship is about love. Most importantly, whoever's close to you. And that requires this first self-sobering assessment that doesn't have a personal problem that results in depression. That has a personal problem that results in ego deflation.
Well, it's really sad that I had to say that. Yeah,
we know that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really sad that I'm starting to get to the point where I'm resenting myself because I told my dad that I would stick it out until this whole thing does whatever it's going to do. And I found myself like I turned down a facial the other day.
Oh no, don't do that.
That's not good.
What do you get for a facial? You get $100?
Yeah, a little over 100.
Well, that's the right price range. $100 an hour works, I figure, for fundamental things anyway.
And I'm just getting really resentful now, and I don't like where I'm at with that. I feel like I just want to pull the plug and walk away. And he's just not, like, the longer he waits, this is just
get some money out of him. Give something to me.
How am I gonna do that?
Huh?
How am I gonna do that? They don't have anything. That's why he's trying to own the building. So he has some equity.
Does he really have nothing?
Money in the bank? No. Real estate? Yes.
Oh, well, get him to sell something, get some cash for yourself, and just give yourself a minute here. There's no use. He's 70 years old, isn't he?
No, he's 64.
All right. He's 64, right? So if there's any properties, there ain't no time left to enjoy anything. 64. So sell something and go buy an ice cream right now. You can't. Boy, did I watch this with some people. You hold on to money and you hold on to things because you're terrified about needing it. It'd be better to go give it some away and spend some. Absolutely. I know that we need to be reasonable. That's fair too. But you must certainly not be 64 years old and have $50,000 that you could put into cash and not use it right now. That's just forget it. I'm not talking about wasting it on giving everybody $10,000 or whatever. I just mean start serving the poor a little bit. You want to save your soul. You want to heal your mind. Get some money if you can and give it to people who really need it. Share it with people who really need it. Now you'll heal your mind. But you can't be an older individual and have any money of significance in the bank waiting to save yourself from some terrible illness. You may as well die because you live in fear all the time and you bring illness to yourself. It's just not, it's not normal and natural. You've got to be free. You've got to be confident. You've got to be healthy. True wealth is wealth of the soul, wealth of the heart. And that is not gained by living a life in fear and selfishness. People have all kinds of excuses, but as long as somebody's hungry today, I'm going to share my money. As long as somebody has zero, I'm going to share my money and so forth. And I don't have any money, but the idea is that it's more important for me. I made a decision of sharing money. I don't know if it's a month ago or something, a little bit, something. I mean, for me, it was significant. And boy, I didn't let myself think, thank God. I just go ahead and just get it done. And I did. Oh my God. Some of the best decisions in my life has been made at the self-sacrifice of giving somebody food or giving somebody money. Now, if I could do a little better with my acceptance of others rather than pretending to be a teacher, I'll do better then.
My dad made a comment when we were talking about everything, because they won't sit down. My stepmother refuses to sit down and do a will.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to tell my dad, like, you have no idea what kind of headache you're going to leave this family if you don't have anything down on paper. And
But that creates drama. That's a good thing.
That's a great drama. And he's just like, maybe we should just, if you can't sit down with me and do this will, talking to his wife, then maybe we should just say, fuck it. We're going to sell everything and just go on vacation and just blow it all. That's a great idea.
Sounds like bipolar again, right? Obvious extremes all the time with you. There's either crying and removal and the possibility of sickness and fear, or there's, I got it. I'm going to do this. No, just do the middle. Once again, the wisdom of Buddhism, the middle path, they call it. There's nothing more intelligent in world religions than Buddhism, because they match every kind of thought and every kind of circumstance with instructions. The idea of the self figuring out is absurd. So we should be surrendered to life, because it's not our timing, it's the timing of life. We should have reverence and humility to life. And where does life exist? With each person. So it's not in teaching anybody else, it's in honoring the other person's wisdom. And then from that, you can knock their head off now and then. It's just natural to do that if you're a good parent. But the thing is, the opposite is the main course. Why is he saying that? Why does he have these comments? I don't want to participate in that kind of a mental imbalance. That's your issue. Now, if I'm dependent on getting the money from them, then maybe, you then are attached to that mode of the brain. You have to be willing to be completely alone, completely abandoned, and give everything up. If you're going to find life, if you're going to find the mystery, because everybody's going to hold everything over your head all the time, because every single person is like a mouse hunting cheese, every single person. And you and I, in our delusional aspect of our behavior, our mind, our psychology, our biological biography, our histories, the movie reel of our life, we're the same way. So the purpose of today is to find a way to surrender in that confession, and revert. The energy will then feed you. But until you are hopeless and depressed, in the good sense of hopeless and depressed, in that reality, Christianity would call it, I'm a sinner. I'm going to be a sinner. I was a sinner. It's not a justification for behavior. It's a reality. Another way you could say it is that, you're imperfect. So if that is in fact true, if it's not true, then, I understand,
I feel hopeless and depressed right now. I swear to God.
Now we're getting somewhere.
I feel like I'm ready to be like, pull the plug. I don't want to play this game anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I am so done, William. It's like, yeah.
Okay. So just do all that right now without talking to anybody. I do it all the time. I tell people that I love them, that I'm directly at war with you. Because in my world, there's one hope and one direction. And nobody does that but me in my life that I know of. So therefore, I'm at war with everybody else's agenda. So I turn my back on everybody all the time, completely, as if my words or my actions might ruin everything. But I continue to make the decision, and I'm just so lucky so far. I continue to make the decision to do that. But just like the girl liking you because you don't care kind of a thing, or you're not compulsively after her, that's what happens when you turn your back on everyone, everywhere, everything. The whole world is going to say, if you do this and you do that, you're done. That's all. They never shut up with that. Everybody does, because everybody feels entitled that you owe them something. Well, it's not your wisdom. It's not my wisdom. It's wisdom. You're not a wise person. She's not a wise person. He's not a wise person. I'm not a wise person. Period. Now we can go on to the next sentence. After the period is indelibly imprinted with the ink onto the paper. If your mind doesn't accept that impression from that period mark, then you can't go on to the next sentence. True Christianity is grace, period, law, period. So if we did the period after you're not the wise person, I'm not the wise person, now we can go on to who's the wise person. Oh, the sky. Oh, the garden. Oh, the cat. Oh, Jeremy, Lena. Oh, my dad. Oh. And that's all a little mini world of wisdom. But don't be bipolar with that. Once you get that, then say, oh yeah, kind of, sort of, I get it. Now I'm a little softer. I realize everybody's doing the best they can and they're all teaching something. Okay, I honor them. Sorry. Forgive me for being an idiot for the 50 billionth time. And then to realize you're an idiot and you're going to repeat being an idiot for your whole life. That's how you become a genius. Anyhow, to do this surrender, now you say, wait a minute, there's that book. Where'd the book go? Oh, I read the book. I love it when people tell me that. I watched that movie. What? It's like physics. Oh, I studied physics in college. What? I don't understand this completion. Even I know how to cut meat. I think a master meat cutter would never say that. If you're really being honest with yourself, I mean, compared to me, compared to every meat cutter in the world, maybe just about, you know how to cut meat. But there's somebody that puts you to shame. Even though you're like, whew, you compare it to 8 billion human beings. You might be in the top 1,000 people in the world that cut meat. I think you're probably that good because there's some kind of extreme wisdom, I believe, in my, observation and get a feel of it. It became a thing and it became a real education over a long time. And it's not just like anywhere, anybody. It's somebody with some intelligence and it's somebody in an intelligent part of the world. And so that would be my guess, that you are super ranking. If you went to Meat Cutters Masters of Meat Cutter Convention, you're in there. But there's 100 people, 5 people, whatever it is, that make your meat cutting look like a hack, look like an idiot. No idea what the hell you're doing at all. How you lift it, how you put it down, where you chop it, just wrong. All the way. When you get that kind of relationship with life in Zen, it's called beginner's mind. Shoshin. Now it's okay to be wrong all the time. Staying wrong is one of my greatest privileges in life. Staying ignorant, staying unwise. And what's really funny is that people that are really not too intelligent or whatever you call it, they actually go for that in me. And I'm like, oh my, when they hear me talk like that, or they hear me express confusion, they actually believe I'm that stupid. But they're so stupid or so whatever that they don't even have time to not know. Now that's really, really an ignorant person. So not knowing is more important than knowing. So your whole idea of being attached to understanding this circumstance right now is directly opposite of understanding the circumstance. You don't need to figure it out today. You've tried to figure it out and pull the plug and not pull the plug 50,000 times before. How about have no idea what you're doing? Sit down right here where you are. You're not over there. You're not in the future. But, if you tell the truth, your mind won't stop. It's either going to cave in on itself or it's going to take action. Cave in on itself, take action. Just be here where you are and slow down the rhythms, because that's the access to creative genius insight, according to science, right? So if you didn't slow down your breathing pattern, if you can't sense your nasal airflow, then you're so distracted. It's really horrible. And then say, oh my God, I'm so distracted. It's really horrible. Let me get started on the path to clearing the air. I don't need to have a conclusion. I don't understand.
I like to constantly say to myself, I don't know the answers to so many things. Like, I don't know anything. That's the way I feel.
Tough place to be, but it'll make what you want out of life. If you could just stay with it, better. Today, how am I going to do it better? That's my only interest. How am I going to be more receptive? How am I going to honor people more? Forget about your needs. It ain't about you. They have nothing to do with it. It's like the children. The children are more focused selfishly than you are, if you could believe it. They didn't realize it has nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
You're going to have to put the food on the table too one day. Wait until you got to do that. It has nothing to do with your timing and your needs. It's the timing for what's present. So what's present right now is saying, I'm overwhelmed and I need to settle down. That's the only thing that life is saying now. Everybody that says you need to do more and do more, you know what happens when you just do and do and do? You become a doo-doo. You'll never see a master of life rushing about in a frenetic mess, yet those people are the most intelligent and those people produce the most results. Those people are the most fierce, yet they're also the most calm. So it's not about a regression from life and being submitted to everybody else's ideas and they're right and I'm wrong. And it's not about a progression in life. They're wrong, I'm my way. It's not about either of those. It's about sages and saints and wise people and science, what they say and how you can be individually submitted to them. Then everything else should become this mosaic of how you're going to learn to move and shake, honoring people and also disciplining them as necessary. Discipline cures. But it's not the be all. Your mind is formed in that's the direction. That's not the direction. The direction is surrender more than it is action. In the golf swing, the backstroke is the production of the action this way. My father was a master golfer. He was as good as people on TV, and Lee Trevino was a family friend and all this kind of stuff. And I noticed that it was his setup and it was his concentration and it was his backstroke that led to the perfect front stroke and follow through. It was the calm and the stillness, the Olympian before action, before you get on the bike to do whatever. It's those moments that prepares the bike ride. So it's not in frenetically going forward with figuring things out. It's the opposite that's more important. The end of education is love. So love is a very nourishing experience, being loved and loving. Those are the inputs and the outputs.
So by surrendering and becoming quiet with the situation at my dad's, like, do I have to surrender to the fact that there are no answers?
Yeah.
Like there are no answers, and
Yeah. And you have to suffer the dangers of I'm stuck in this and I'm doing wrong by being stuck in this. You
is
have to
that
separate from taking any action at all. Sun Tzu in The Art of War, the greatest, well, him and Miyamoto Musashi are the ultimate war philosophy, period. How to fight. And he says war is 99% preparation, 1% action. That's where I got that from. And that's very, very true. If we could just settle down and suffer the consequences of either having done wrong and having residual effects in our brain and body from living a life that wasn't directed or something, or being subject to other people's manipulations, whatever it is. If we could just sit, slow down, and do the informational magnetism acceptance, meaning that this is a sea of psychic magnetism. If the cortex trying to label everything is overactive, you can't sense. Intuition is more important than intelligence. Einstein said that we've forgotten the sacred gift, which is intuition, and we honor the rational mind, and which should be opposite. We should honor the intuition and work with the rational mind as a product of the intuition. So intuition activates reason, thought, logic, scientific analysis of a subject. How are you going to get to intuition? Science is the cingulate cortex. That's the place in the brain, right there. In science, that's the largest concentration of magnetite-bearing tissue. Tissue that senses magnetism. This morning, I learned a wonderful thing that somebody asked Socrates, you keep saying the same things. And he said, thank God I've kept saying the same things my whole life and I apply them to the same subjects. That's a master. So you continue to not know and you continue to go back to basics. You continue to return to boring repetition to create skill. What's the skill? Change the brain waves, change the hormones, change the pulse, change the spatial orientation. Now, the master skill, meditation. You got to trust in it. You use your logic to say, well, everything he said is real. Harvard said it's the only known way that in 8 weeks, people actually increase the gray matter of their brain in 8 weeks of real meditation. I know from my own life that I can't imagine doing what I did to repair my brain and go forward. I can't imagine any other method. So how can you suffer the exposure of your own distortions, your own incompetencies, and your own being subject to poor circumstances and not take action? Can you wait long enough until the stirred up muddy pool of your mind settles down? So you be strategic, because an enlightened person is constantly active with all kinds of things to do. But you'd have to be strategic then. You get up earlier and you take 10 seconds every time you're at the sink, every time you get into a car, or every time that you leave, go through a door and you arrive somewhere, every time you sit down in your chair when you come home from work. You have this repetition that leads to longer expanses when you have time. Class is Sunday, longer time. You engage in group classes where you can, because group power is important. It's a bunch of batteries connected together. Your life is that stuff. However you choose, whoever you like, whatever bridge teacher like me that can show you the real thing, and group class where you join together for self-training. Whatever scriptures are the height of human intelligence, period. Anybody wants to argue it? I don't even have time to argue my point with them, because obviously they're really far behind the mark. So you make your life about all this stuff. People think personal character is off limits. And that's something that we can't change. And what do you mean? If you can't change your character and personality, you can't do anything in life. The only people that survive are those that self-reinvent.
So I
So
should
that's
just,
life.
I should just stay with this muddy feeling that I have and meditate on that and let it go. Like,
EXACTLY. But because you can't sit still, you have to keep stirring it up, because the work has to change, and the relationship has to change, and the money, I have to watch the money now, the change, and everything is an excuse not to face yourself. You'll be sorry. So instead of being sorry later, be sorry now that you were mistaken, and that you prize the outer world over the inner, and give yourself another chance to alleviate the mortgage on your soul. Soul in Greek, psyche. What do you have? It's your psyche. What are you going to take with you? It's your psyche. Who you are right now. What you're experiencing. So there's a you that's observing your thought, and there's a you that's observing your circumstance. So you are not your circumstance, and you are not your thought. Would that not be correct? I mean, factually, logically, is that not correct?
right.
You, as an observer, doesn't have thought. Is that not correct?
Right.
So that's what training is. Training is logically being convinced of certain beliefs and certain attitudes and certain practices, behaviors that lead you to the place of freedom. When the mind and the body is all bound up in all these obsessions, it's not connected with nature because it's in fearful clinging. So you have a field of energy. Heart has a 40-foot field of measurable magnetism. Every cell in the body has a north and south pole of magnetism. There's a bit of tissue right there. It's the largest concentration of tissue. It's called magnetite-bearing tissue. The sphenoid bones sense magnetism. The planet has a north and south pole of magnetism. So you're in a sea of psychic magnetism here. And if you're in mental obsession about who you are and where you've been and where you're going, you're not boundless like you are when you're alone in the scene in nature. So how can you become, first of all, codify the instructions so that you have direction, 7 steps, I wrote it down. How can you, but you got to choose it. If you don't choose it and make it your own, it's worthless to you. But how can you codify wisdom and instructions that will change this experience of mental obsession into being boundless while you're talking to people? So that now, like when you're alone in nature, or when there's a bunch of flowers under your nose, there's this nourishment streaming into you, and it gives you perspective over relationship. Being boundless in your perception, both in the inner psyche and in the outer physical world, is the container to process communication with other people, because you know that the person in front of you, win or lose, right or wrong, whoever is in that, whoever gets all these definitions, that's not the bigger thing that's going on here, like if you're alone in nature. So you should see your life history, and you should see nature as the context within which your current relationships and current circumstances are taking place. If you do that, you have perspective, just like the perspective of, I'm not my thought, I'm not my circumstances. I'm the one watching them. And the me that's watching them, the I am that's watching them, that's already fulfilled. Doesn't need anything to change. And now all of a sudden, all the blessings come in. Oh, whoa, I got plenty of money to eat, and I got a great house in a decent neighborhood. Did you actually want more than that? So now you find this change where the mental obsession goes into the body, the energy. It's like a stuck waterfall in your head, because the cortex is like the scientific observer that comments on everything in the body, out there. You get a nice hug, something is experienced that has you calm down a little bit, centering. So drastic emergency experiences cause you to center, and have my whole life flash before my experience of mind's eye. And also wonderful events have that. So in these bits of knowledge, you find your body. When you find your body, you'll find these stuck places. Oh, my right shoulder. Oh, my hip. Oh, my. And you see it's related to stress and these different things. Review my back. If you feel better, my heart, you feel better. Now you have the same kind of eyes, mystic's eyes, a person in love, like when you're alone in nature. But that's the normal state of communication now. So you're alone in a scene in nature, like your father going over there for vacation, but you're doing it now with the people that are in your life. That's what you're practicing with the people in your life. It takes a terrible sense of abandonment and being alone to do this, because our brains are wired in what I have to avoid from the other person and what I can get from the other person. That's it. That's the only way we roll with each other. That's not people in love. Or, if you're in love as an individual, if you have love as an individual, that's not how you interact with anybody. So if you fall in love and you have the greatest sex of your life and you wake up in the morning, you open your eyes, the whole world's in a better mood. You go to the store and the person is like, really cool and interesting. Wow. How long have you worked here? All of a sudden, everyone and everything is better. The lights are on in the room of your life in an instant or in an experience. It could be an instant. It could be falling in love, becoming happy, greatest sex. The hormonal changes in the body turns you on. That's meditation. Meditation and enlightenment is not presented in the world because it's a business where making money is a lot easier if you don't kind of tell the truth about things. So if you find a quote that you like and you write it down, if you find a practice like the 10 seconds and you write it down, you can begin to have measurable control over your own systems. I'm going to improve my hormones right now. I'm going to improve my pulse right now. I'm going to improve my sensory orientation right now. And not forget that I'm talking to William, but there's beautiful flowers there. And there's a light back there. And there's a white wall there. There's a sky above us. So why am I just talking with this other person? You've got to make your mind the Dharma, or the teaching of life. This university of life is only for one thing. It is to make you happy and fulfilled and successful. It's not a conspiracy against you. That's only the first step. The first step is, there's wrong out there and there's wrong in here and I got to fight. Well, after you fight for a while, which is a dangerous thing to do, then you can surrender and you can get back behind the scenes of environment where the mystery lives. Now you're changed. So your question should be about how to meditate. What is meditation? What are emotions? These are the questions, Forget the rest of it. That'll take care of itself. Forget about your relationship and your job and your everything. It's a waste of time. Pay attention to improving you. You can cut vegetables forever, but if you never sharpen the knife, you're not too witty. You got to sharpen the knife. You have to improve the CPU of you. Oh, that's a nice one. The CPU of you. You have to download a software upgrade. You got to download the new software upgrade and run it.
I'm ready for downloading.
Okay. That means that today you're going to slow down extremely as a practice. I don't know how well it's going to go because I don't know how well it's going to go for me, but I'm going to try again as a practice to be receptive to everyone and everything, to be mean as a snake for what's going to try to pattern things in the wrong way, and to be, like the Bible says, you should be as cunning as a snake and as innocent as a dove, and to realize everybody's doing the best they can, and to pursue love, happiness, morality, ethics for myself and for other people, so that I can upgrade the human genome, so that I can create such powerful magnetism that wherever I go, everything changes. That's what I'm going to try to do. The problem is me. The problem is that I'm dumb as a brick and stupid as a rock. And I'm really not able to listen. I'm not able to love. I'm not able to honor. So I want to have a very close relationship with where I'm just like hardwired wrong. Hardwired is a tough thing to change. So I don't know how much progress I could make with my hardwired wrong. It's basically hopeless. It's basically helpless and incompetent in those areas. But I realize that other people aren't smart enough to understand that that's actually the route to brilliance. So I don't need to be accepted by other people for having so many problems and not knowing so much and having wrongness and confusion in myself that that Adrienne can't fix and nobody can fix. And I'm just like abandoned and alone and lost with it. That's my hope for today. That last part, the first part, not so much, but that last part, that's my real hope. I want to be abandoned, alone, and suffering the distortion of my own misconfigurations. That's what I want. Now, unfortunately, for most minds, they couldn't understand the brilliance of that if they had to. They're too slow. Their minds don't process information quickly enough. But that's not my problem. So just to be clear, I want to be, like Marianne Williams said, wonderful and talented and successful. Yeah, I want all those things. But the path to that is by addressing my issues. So the sage wannabe, like me, or a real sage, they're very, very humble people. The Apostle Paul, person who does miracles in the Bible, he said he was the greatest sinner in the world. People that are of extraordinary intelligence are constantly extraordinarily not knowing things. They ask questions. I don't know. The hell do I know? And then they talk and wisdom comes out like a flow of light. And it just happens because they're constantly changing their insides. They're constantly addressing that stuck piece that is really bad and wrong and the problem causing problems. That's the master. So that's what I want to do today. And I won't allow myself to be interrupted much. Hopefully I could do it well enough that nobody knows what I'm doing. And I cannot have all these social protocols and all the good energy and everything for everybody and normalcy. So nobody knows what I'm doing because I don't want to be observed. I'm too busy running away with the football to the touchdown and nobody can see me. I don't want to be seen. So you could do that too. But you're going to have to give up on other people understanding you or giving you something. If your behavior is to get approval or rejection, pain or pleasure from other people, and that's your only method to get energy, then you can't do this.
So basically suffer the consequence of my decisions.
Yeah. It's okay to be wrong or to not know what you're doing. If your child comes up to you and they're crying and they're sad, boy, do they get some greasy wheel gets the oil. Boy, do they get some loving. But they never do that because I know every freaking thing ever.
Like my son. My
right.
son.
I'm the one that knows that we're stuck on that. And that's the cause of war, because only war and pain and disease and death will shut us up and have us become receptive. So you don't need to have those external experiences, blow out with your dad, whatever, being more separated from your key relationship, whatever, whoever, whatever. You just need to experience it now, pre-form, pre-personalities. If you can calm down more now, because that's the instruction, and surrender more now, and see that there's the whole paradigm of your actions and consequences is skewed. For the master, that's what they find every day. Up to this point in time, I was entirely wrong all along. I have to write that down, put it in, and I love that statement. I don't know when I came up with it, but I just love it. What if you were to suddenly realize, pardon me a second. I forget when I thought of that one. It takes me years to teach other people after I teach myself. Everything is too intense and I shouldn't say it to other people. This is another one of those. Well, now I really need to make this a rule of my daily life. Daily rule. Suddenly realizing I was entirely wrong all along. So then you get some rightness going during the day and you do some good things and you're all puffed up because now you're champion again, right? And then you got to realize again tomorrow, I was entirely wrong all along. Now, everything up to this moment, I was completely understood. I misunderstand. They misunderstand. It's a clusterfuck.
I can relate to that, where you feel like, oh, this day's going so good, and then it's like the hammer drops. Yeah.
You can't be in control of the day. That method is going to result in consistent bipolar behavior, or whatever you call it. I'm no doctor, so I don't know. But what I'm saying is that, if bike mechanic and meat chutter, what? Total opposites. One is the internal world of meditation, sorta. And the other is, external action, chopping meat heads off. And if you've got to be in control of the day, then you have to have these big cycles, which is good because training happens in big cycles. But if you're not conscious of it, then it'll cause self-doubt, unnecessary self-doubt, not conscious self-doubt. Conscious self-doubt is great. You should always have a spice of that. A real master, a real genius, they always have, like science, a real scientist, there's always doubt. Surety goes by itself. It's not the shooting of an arrow, it's the targeting and the pulling of the bow. The shooting of the arrow is automatic. It has nothing to do with anything. Your action, whatever action you want to take for your life, skincare, job, children, relationship, that has nothing to do with anything. It's the targeting and pulling of the bow. It's the 99% you have to worry about. Action happens by itself for somebody that's driven. But to be driven, you're going to have to charge your batteries. How are you going to charge your batteries up? Like a child, naturally, there's this flow of energy. And the parent knows, oh my God, they could learn or do anything, but they have no guidance. They're just like, ah. But then what happens? So because they're not disciplined and they're not educated from their parents, then they get to be 40 years old and they look back and like, shit, I could have done anything. But now they don't have the energy that they had as a child, so they can't. But if you practice internal rejuvenation as a primary devotion of today, then you can slow down another notch and find out the issues in your tissues.
Issues in your tissues.
Mm-hmm. Find it out.
I always feel so much better. Like, I've been doing yoga in the morning, and then I followed by meditation right after that. And it's just been so nice. Like, just very peaceful.
It's not going to allow you to escape from conflict, but it can allow you to charge your batteries. So that's nice. So conflict's still going to come.
Yeah.
But now you got some power.
Right.
You're not dying in a bed.
Right.
Or getting surgeries or whatever. I mean, there's more chance to not get diseased. We're all going to get diseased anyway and die of disease someday. But there's more chance to be healthy if you have a greater relationship with your biological biography. So that's what yoga is for. Yoga, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, Samyama. In Zen, Bampu, Shikantaza, Samadhi, Jiriki. In Tibetan Buddhism, Rigpa, Samadhi, Langta, on and on and on. Anyway, in English, it's the same thing. Concentration, contemplation, meditation, transcendence, empowerment, coming back to your body, activating your body for action, the field of action. So established in being, perform action. So you've got to reach being, reconnection with who you are as the silent observer. Calm down. Give up your compulsion. Forget it. Let it go. Forget your future. Stop. Relax. Once you contact being, establish who you really are, something like that, then you have this tremendous ability to influence brainwaves, breathing pattern, pulse, to speak in an effective way, to listen in an effective way, But unless you get to the being, which is timeless and spacious, silent and still, unless you can analyze your experience and say, I got to that for a significant amount of time this morning, then you haven't accepted the next level of your instruction, which all of this stuff is to prepare you for action. So you're going to take better action with your relationship and your children. You're going to take better action with your job. You're going to take better action with your relationship with humankind. You're going to become more focused externally when you speak, when you act, when you chop the meat, whatever you're doing. So life is, just process. This completion delusion thing is ruining everything. Your father's 65 and he has properties. How many properties do you have? Does he have a lot of money in the properties and he's not enjoying himself? Get a life. What are you going to get a life? Through talking to people at the bike shop? No, get your own life. That's just the way it is. I'm sure he's wonderful and great and has many things. I'm no teacher of anything. It's just my ideas. I don't mean to be offensive, but I want to assert the reality that today is your day to enjoy life. It's not what everybody tells you. You need to work hard and you need to keep on going harder. You've been lied to.
I feel like for all these years, I've been doing nothing but watching my mom, watching my dad be absolute workaholics.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like every day I learn something from that. And I
Good.
see with my own eyes, this is not what I want at all.
If you're a superwoman and you're supercharged and now you're industriously productive and your emotional life is more important and your family life is more important and you're learning how to speak better and behave better and now you work day and night, that's fine. But if you work day and night because somebody told you that's how to make it in life, you've been lied to. Life is right now, this instance. And maybe nobody will agree with you. I don't care. You can just do your best you can. In other words, you with your brain and your heart and your body, you can do your best right now to go in the direction of self-education and self-healing. Dogen Zenji, one of the great proponents of Zen, said, to know thyself is to study thyself. To study thyself is to forget thyself. To forget thyself is to be enlightened by the 10,000 teachers. You could be the consummate student and go over that quote, press rewind on this session and do it 1,000 times. And the same thing with whatever knowledge works for you. You can devote your entire life and save yourself. That's what I'm doing. You can do that too. And if you do that, you won't be sorry, but you're going to have to be wrong to do it. It means that I know and you don't know, or somebody else, some source of education or wisdom. And you've got to be able to say, I was entirely wrong the whole time. And when you do that, it's not going to make you instantly do everything right. Matter of fact, it's probably the opposite. You're going to just see how much incompetence you have and how many things. I mean, I'm consumed with how much I do wrong. I'm constantly consumed with the failures that repeat themselves in my listening and my speaking. It's horrible. But in that, every once in a while, I look at myself and I'm like, you're like 10 times smarter than you were 10 years ago. So that's nice. So once you're kind of on the path, you might want to be a marathon bike rider, right? Once you get to make it to practice to make it through half a marathon, you might think that's really great. And then you make the marathon. That's really great. Okay, so there's progress. And how much more can you do? You can become a triathlete. It never ends. You could become a martial art master. It never ends. So completion is an illusion. And the only thing you need to learn about and give your time and energy to is how you meditate, how you become emotionally hygienic, resilient, responsive. What happens when a person's dead? They're not responsive. Responsible, response-able. How are you going to be response-able to your job and your kids and your relationship if you don't even have a you? If there's not a profound personal life drive that has nothing to do with anyone else, you can't. That's just a fabricated cracker of doing things outside. And that's what you're taught. Just do that and do the job and work really hard all the time. And that's the best you can do in life. It's fantasy world. It's not true. Responsibility. What's your ability to respond? Yeah, but that responding is not an action born of itself. It's an action born of receiving the information. not all the time trying to capture, grab, and control the circumstance of the person. How are you going to have a relationship if you do that with somebody? If that's, you're so fed up and you're so whatever that the only thing you can do is have a plan to totally control them. And if they won't go for the total control, then you can get out of the relationship. That's what you do. That's what I do. And I'll tell you what, it's not the right way. So when you're going to analyze your behavior, my day, lucky for me, that's all I'm going to do all day and all night. And I will not let one person interrupt me, because I know this is my last chance. I'm half an old man already, or maybe more than half. So I don't really have any time. So I don't owe my life to you or her or him or anything, even though if I'm wrong, and I'm wrong a lot. But I do owe my life to myself and to God, nature, and things like that. And I can try to see where I do it wrong. And I can try to correct that very uncomfortable, uncoordinated place inside of my biological biography that does these wrong actions.
Well,
Then you might look at yourself, in 5 years, you might be amazed at how beautiful you are. I know I do.
Well, I love that saying that you have, the hygienic, how do you say it? The hygienic,
I have no idea.
the hygiene of the mind. However,
Emotional hygiene.
Emotional
That's a book I
hygiene,
wrote.
yeah. It's not the money. It's not like I don't care about the money. I care about my emotional hygiene, and I can feel what it's doing to me.
The only way you're going to get money that you're going to enjoy, and then me too, is from the inside out, not from the outside in. If the inside out self generates so much energy and intelligence that it can make a move to make a lot of money, and the main purpose is to heal lives, that's the purpose of money, is to upgrade the genetic code of the human race. If that's the purpose of money and you can do it from an overflow, then that's great. If you do it the other way around, you may as well be poor, because it's not going to help you. It's only going to create more problems, and everybody's going to bother you, and you don't have any self-defense ability. Then you lose your mental faculties. Then you become addicted. The vast majority, there's a direct correlation between more money and less mental hygiene. Maybe we'll say mental hygiene. Anyway, so the example is not there for it working. But if you see the commercial, if you step into a great car and so forth, boy, there's a lot of energy in that, because money is material power. Material power is the whole game in the physical world. But the problem with the physical world is that it's based on your response ability. So it's not an object that you can eat and be satisfied. You can only be satisfied from the inside out. Right. So when you live life the other way around, it's not going to help anyway. So you may as well, that's why a lot of spiritual people are poor, because it's very difficult to do both. But I think that I want to represent, I still have a chance, don't I? I'm still breathing. I want to represent both. Modern master. I want to represent tons of money like my family had, but more importantly, like enlightenment. And enlightenment, is that a real thing? Enlightenment, is that, what is that? What does it mean to evolve as a human being?
To know thyself is to forget thyself.
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, the thing, I don't know that answer is my truth. I'm not the authority, and even supernatural sages, and there is certainly real masters, real sages with real extraordinary abilities. They don't even know. I think this is a schoolroom around here. And even people that are in the high end, there's a lot of not knowing and a lot of faith and trust and a map, following a map. What's the GPS for your life? You don't have one. The job is a GPS, and making money your GPS. What a joke. That's that's funny. It's unfortunately, that's a bit imbalanced on my part, but that's kind of funny because it's so off. It's so not what the purpose of life is and so forth, that if that's your time and energy all day long, you're only going to degrade as you grow older. And that's the fate of most people. And then they spend their money on their health. That's not masters of life. There's all kinds of people in enlightenment traditions that live well beyond 100 years old, and they go from, 0 to 130, and it's joy the whole time and health. They don't get sick and stuff like that.
I wanted to share what you were saying before, like to do the bike ride, to do anything on the outside in terms of the breathing.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you saw it on Facebook, but I had a really long ride last Sunday.
No, I didn't.
We did 50 miles, and
Nice.
but lots of climbing. So lots of hills.
Oh, uh-huh.
And let me tell you, every single one of those hills, I thought about you.
Oh, good.
Because, and just our teachings,
Good.
because I got to a point where it got so hard that I had to be like this. Like I instantly had to tell my mind,
Responsibility. Mhm.
yeah, I had to instantly tell my mind, just stop, slow down, slow your breathing down, and just breathe, and just slowly, like even if I was going like 2 miles an hour, I just had to like completely go internally and just one, two, just completely slow down. And it was incredible. Like what I was climbing, I just couldn't believe it,
That's a great testament to your university and I'm just, a choice. I'm just a piece of pizza in your eating. You've got, a university, a smorgasbord of enlightenment. I'm just one little piece of pizza. That's great. Eat it up. The whole idea is I want you to always remember that externally acknowledging the other and, giving proper respect and all that for somebody that cares about you or help guide you or whatever. That's all great stuff. Now, in doing that, then you're directed towards yourself. And what did you learn? I need to have a quicker speed of response, because if I don't respond and change my breathing pattern and slow down, stuff like that, I'm getting off the bike because it's not here. I don't have it. But if I say,
yeah, that's exactly what it was. I had to, like, I knew it was either this or I'm going to fall off this bike right now.
so that's your wisdom, right?
Yeah.
That's your genius, your wisdom, your genius, your choice, your
Training.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it comes from somebody else, and now it goes into your University of Enlightenment. So first, the sun and the rain happen, and they burst the seed, and the seed grows a plant. Okay, so we're interdependent. We're first dependent, then we're like a child, then we're interdependent, and then we're free. You get off the bike, you get done the dishes, you have an epiphany moment. In science, that's brainwave coherence and a suffusion of hormonal nectar, hormonal balance. That happens in the epiphany moment of the job well done or the insight. So these are the cycles of the 7 steps. You're going to have specific steps, specific mentors, specific accountability. And like a drum beat is the basis of making music, you're going to have to return to that, because no skill happens without endless repetition. So you will never be beyond teachers, and you will never be beyond being wrong, and never be beyond curriculum. So the curriculum is based in the drum beat.
Yeah. I wasn't super excited. Like after I made it up the hill,
Okay.
I was so humble. I was so like, I was happy I made it up the hill, but I was so like grounded at that point that I was just like, okay, like I wasn't on a high, like you had said before.
Okay.
Like it wasn't like a moment of excitement. It was
Okay.
just okay, I did it, and I breathed my way through it, and I
Now, was the rest? Did you have rest? And then after the rest, did you have some clarity?
Yeah, definitely had rest, because we did stop when we got to the top. We did stop, and we just kind of like rehydrated, like wow, we did it,
Now, how about if you do that kind of effort towards emotional maturation as a project? Can you imagine? How about if you did that kind of effort towards understanding how to promote your skincare business? So all of these things, there's a lot of great options. And the hardest one is to face yourself. If you make that primary in your life, then the horse is in front of the cart of life. If you reverse it, then you can never have what you want, satisfaction. So that's where the University of Enlightenment comes in, the professors, the curriculum, and the testing. So define very specific. It's not just in the morning, it's through the day. If from now on, it's 3 10s a day, you say 10 and it's 3, not 4, not 2.5, 3. Why? Because you have to have accountability to instruction. So if you do that, then there's another step. And eventually all of life becomes a worship. All of life becomes an enjoyment because you break the stuff inside that's festering, that is the real cause of problems in terms of your response to life. You break open that stuff in major places that's hidden behind masks and walls of self-defense mechanisms. And that stuff comes up and out, and it's like rocket fuel. And it changes neurology, and it changes tendrality. Tendrality is your connections in psychic space with the people that are in your life. So you become more conscious. The people that are in your life are more here right now. And if they're here right now, you're going to have to tolerate that lack of ability and agitation. You can't always try to be getting away from them because they're here. As you become deeper subconsciously aware, your processing speed skyrockets and you live third eye open, which means you see representations of your mind's eye. The reasons our eyes move around sometimes is because we're referencing internal images, but we're not even conscious of it. But if you're conscious, if you're really awake right now because you fell in love, you became happy and so forth, then the whole world is your oyster thing becomes once again presented to you. Now, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with the oyster? I ask you to eat some oysters and then put it into your own maturation.
I would love to eat some oysters.
All right. So make a note, buy oysters. So you can have the ability to find out what it is that will cause you to have a clearing. And it's these steps. It's this internalization, and the internalization results in being able to see your biological biography, the issues in your tissues. And then you find blocked areas, and then those blocked areas come up and out. You're allowed to eliminate, you discharge. And in doing that, even though the world has said you're not allowed to do that, you are allowed to do that. And it's fertilizer for the field. It grounds everybody. Don't worry. Now, with everybody else being grounded, you have a new chance to communicate some kind of win-win with the other person, which means you need to be healed. I need to be healed. Let's go forward 300-400 years. I was thinking this morning that anybody that's in my life now, we're going to get healed and we're going forward, and that's it. Because I'm not waiting for anybody anymore, and I'm not explaining anything to anybody anymore. What I mean is that I think there's a compulsion to speak in such a way that pleases another person and all that, rather than just being honest. I'm going to be more honest.
Okay.
And the honesty is based in we both don't know, and we both need to have a flood of grace to come in right now. Like if you're in trouble with the law, I got this ticket. Did I tell you about the speeding ticket I got? Yeah. Horrible. I still didn't pay it. Awful. And gosh, it's just caused me such trouble because I just want to be beyond that kind of stuff now. But I'm hoping for a little flood of grace. So I sent a note to the judge, And what does an advocate do? An advocate, which I'm my own advocate in this sense, I explained that the sun was in my eyes. It was 5:30. I'm coming from this direction to that direction. That means the sun is directly in my eyes in a mountainous terrain and other facts. And I'm hoping for grace. So the better the advocate, the better the grace. the better my ability to be my own advocate in that circumstance and explain what's going on and be sorry. No excuse. Ultimately, I learned a hard lesson. There's speed changes that happen quickly. And I've got to slow down for the speed changes, not just sort of think that they're not a big deal. I'm going through a small town and just blow through it. That's not right. I'm sorry. So there's a lot of factors involved in getting grace, but probably the most important factor is the advocate, the lawyer. So that's the Jesus, the Buddha, the teacher. And that's another place that I stop, I end. And let's put the videos off and let's do that.
I have till 2:30, William.
Okay. I never do good enough at getting the meditation. I'm just not good enough. I always take too long and babble on too much. You ever notice?
Nope.
Yeah, sure. How about that Danielle healing video series? Did you get
Oh,
that?
it's good. I only watched the one so far, but it was good. It's always nice to watch other people in our group.
Let's do another one if you have it. Put your video on and do a little testimony if it's true. What's the difference between your state of mind at the beginning and your state of mind now? And I'm not putting thoughts in your head, just scientifically, empirically. How many days before has it been a particular way for the last 2 weeks? What's happened in the last hour with my overwhelming personness? If anything.
Well, when I first started, I felt very frustrated with myself and resentful at some of the decisions that I'm making because I'm constantly in this stuck mode. And now I just need to surrender to it all, just see it all in front of me and just completely surrender and focus more on my meditation so I can actually let it go.
Let me say that meditation is not understood by anybody what that word means. So you can go to science to find out what that word means. But for you as an individual, has mood or hormones or biology changed in a way that say is different than the last 2 weeks?
I feel lighter, like almost instantly already.
What I'm looking for is, and I'm not trying to put thoughts in your head, I'm trying to get scientific evaluation, but what I'm thinking is that since it happens most time with everybody, that it may have happened, and that I just want to draw a scientific distinction. Was there a difference between, say, the last 2 weeks and the last 30 minutes?
Yes.
All right, that's good enough. All right, video's off. So that's what we need, folks. We need some kind of introduction of someone. A person is best that will actually clear the air and so that the lights in the room of our life is on again. And if you find a methodology that repeats that circumstance to occur, then your nervous system gets saturated and you change. Your life changes from the inside out. I'm going to put on, let's see, this one. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, not that, this one. I'm going to put on the screen share and we're going to watch a few videos, and please begin step 1 now, where you extend your attention span. Pardon me, I need to find this. Longer breath, nasal airflow, eyelid light. This one maybe. Here you go.
Oh, I like that one.
Missing out on everything that's going on.
I'll start it over. I've got a new thing here. You
You're paying
don't
attention.
need to kind of
Even though
go,
you're not.
you don't need to go over there to change things. You need to just, we need to just settle down more. That's why meditation is part of every enlightened tradition. Prayer leads to meditation. Make it more of a internal extreme rejuvenation, like extreme life makeover kind of thing.
Definitely.
Yes. So you want to do that to yourself, and then you can put it through your fingers onto people's faces and imprint their minds with your gift to them. Remember where you're at, and
It's such a beautiful thing when I tell my clients, you're going to hear me breathe through your treatment to remind you to breathe.
okay, now you impressed me. Wow. I love that.
It is such a beautiful thing, William. Like, I just love to breathe with my clients. And I learned when I learned Ohashi's Japanese shiatsu
Oh, yes.
to watch them breathe, watch their body language, and I think they love that. Like, they understand when you hear me breathe, it's going to remind me to breathe. When I hear you breathe, it's going to remind me to breathe. Oh,
That's
it's so great.
Now remember that our breathing leads to the experience of the inner education. So first, we've got to calm down. Remember the religious references: Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, Samyama, Shamatha, Vipassana, Samadhi. In every tradition from the East and in the Bible as well, all the enlightenment systems that came about because there was some enlightened person around, they all start with becoming still, internalizing the attention. In the Buddhist tradition, that's shamatha, the breathing. In the Japanese traditions that are based in Shintoism and Zen, there's always the sensing of the nasal airflow. And what this leads to is taking out the trash.
There's never nothing going on if you're looking with a clear mind. Start with the past, Dan. Understand something. There's nothing you can do to change it. The past is completely out of your control. You're up in the rings and you think to yourself, last time I didn't do so good. The past now has all your attention and
Longer breath.
So throw it out.
Longer, heavier body, like
The
going
same
to
with the
sleep.
future. Gee, I really hope I ace my dismount. I really hope Joy and I get together. The future now has your concentration. You see? So throw it out. Take out the trash, Dan. The trash is anything that is keeping you from the only thing that matters. This moment. Here.
To develop the powers of concentration, we have to first engage the fight
You'll be amazed at what you can do.
of not becoming distracted by people, places, things, and only connect with people, places, and things that augment our maturation. That's it. That's the process of life. There's not another conversation welcome here.
We go.
So what we want to do is just tend to our own personal extreme rejuvenation. Slow down your breathing pattern and find pauses. That's the place where brainwave coherence and hormonal nectar happens. It's moments after the effort of the bike ride, after the rest of the bike ride, and then there's this clarity. There's this insight and encouragement to engage life on life's terms. So according to scientists and sages, the best place that all of this stuff happens is in advanced meditation. Remember that the sickness and the death and all that causes the conscious coma, that causes the the super slow rhythms. So why don't you do the super slow rhythms preemptively? You can avoid a whole host of brewing problems by just letting it go and accepting great contact from the people, places, and things that can bring you into extreme rejuvenation. This is a life devotion. It's the devotion of all the sages and saints. How much more so should it be yours? Is that volume okay for the music sound and the audio for that clip?
Just a bit.
Say again?
You can lower it just a little.
Okay, thank you. Longer breath. Heavier body, more touching the earth with your mind, becoming truly grounded, irrefutable magnetism and gravity in your own space. You do that by receiving every person and every circumstance rather than keeping them out and controlling them through objectified thought and strategy. Don't worry about strategy and thought. Geniuses don't think, thinking happens. Strategy happens greatest from when you're surrendered to what's present. So you've got to just give up strategy and commentary and be totally surrendered as the process of meditation that will lead to insight. But the grasping towards the insight and the strategy, the compulsion and addiction for that has to be forsaken. Please drop your head into your hands. Put your fingers on your eyeballs. Notice how fast your eyeballs are moving around, if at all. Calm them down. Have them become more resilient and still and nourished, if they are still, in terms of their movement. Become internally satiated. Contentment is not antithetical to excitement. It's actually the production of the greatest excitement. The production of the greatest desire comes from no desire. So spend time in this inner journey to release stuff that's causing difficulties and trust life. back in. See if you can find a natural pause. That's what happens with an orgasm, with a job well done, with an epiphany moment of insight. There's no breath like breathtaking beauty. And that singular experience causes brainwave coherence and hormonal nectar like nothing else. So alternate between natural no breath, being suffused by life, and sighs of relief. Coming back to yourself, let it out, just like a wonderful moment will do. And go beyond it all. That's returning to being the observer, well up in nourishment to the degree of natural transcendence. And then you can enter your biological biography more fully and let go of deep-seated stressors. Just discharge them. How many minutes can we go over?
Like 2:35.
Okay. Longer breath. So these alternations of sighs of relief and natural pauses, you can hear the difference in my voice. It causes an empowerment that allows you to feel more solid in your own skin, safe in your own skin, more grounded and rooted, understanding relationships and your role for your responsibility, being response able. profound relief, fresh insight, clean slate, new lease. All of this should happen with each experience of total immersion. Remember, the inner life is more important than the outer life, and it's actually the cause for success in the outer life as well. The only way to produce sustainable success as an overflow of energy, not as a squeeze. At the conclusion of the meditation, you just got to get happy.
This magic moment, so different and so new, was like any other until I kissed you, and then it happened. It took me by surprise. I knew that you felt it too, by the look in your eyes, sweeter than wine, softer than the summer night. Everything I want, I have. Whenever I hold you tight, this magic moment, while your lips are close to mine, will last forever, forever till the end of time. Oh, sweeter than wine, softer than the summer night. Everything I want, I have. Whenever I hold you tight, this magic moment, while your lips are close to mine, will last forever, forever till the end of time.
That's the kind of moments, a magic moment that's timeless. These are the types of experiences that, if we can choose to have them independent of circumstance, we are on to the master skill. Video's on. It might take the devotion of a whole lifetime to calm down and find yourself again. But I can assure you that the one you're looking for is yourself. And once you reverse the search and make contact with the inner world to where you feel safe in your own skin, you might find wise people. You might find nature, because now you've dropped the defense mechanism that is objectifying reality. So all of these nourishment streams are present. What's with your eyes, the environment. What's with the ears, the environment. What's with the people, the environment. So to have more influence, we've got to find a way to become surrendered to our inner stuff. And then projections of personalities and forms will overextend, pull back, and self-regulate. Then you can have something to say and it'll be heard. All right, give me a product review for yourself. I'm not talking about for me. I'm talking about in terms of what's going on in the next couple days. And so hopefully I can keep up with you in these next days and we can ensure more results in the meditation. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, William.
Thank you.